Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Network Our podcast. I am your host, Molly Kreese, and I am so excited to have a special guest with me today, Krystle Dookoo. And we are longtime friends, acquaintances, schoolmates, all of the above. And I am so happy to have her on my podcast today. And I'm going to let her introduce herself to you guys.
Great. Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm so excited to be part of the podcast. I listened to some of your episodes and they were really good, really filled with a lot of insights. I think the topics that you're handling about, being happy in your profession and in your life is so needed today in today's world. So I'm happy to be here. Just a little bit of background. As Molly stated, we go back since college days. How but it's a lot of years. And I always enjoyed being in class with Molly. The classes we took, the conversations we had, coming from the Caribbean together, definitely bonded and support. The support was always there even after graduation. So a background on me: I'm from Trinidad originally, and I came up to Monroe. And after Monroe, I stayed in the US, and I have worked in higher education for the past, I would say 13 years, 14 years. So I've worked in higher education. I currently work at a college where I oversee the online admissions program. And I also run my own business, which focuses on helping others with their resumes, their LinkedIn, and looking at different ways that I can grow and expand myself. So that's just a little bit about me and where I am at right now.
Oh, so I didn't know that. So we got to talk about that. So what made you go into education? Because I know we at Monroe and we had all these things that we wanted to do coming out of college and all of that stuff. So what made you wanted to stay in that academic realm?
So to be honest, I started there. I started working in the international office as a student worker, and that's where I had done my OPT. And for those who may not know, OPT is a year of training that an international student gets once they complete once they complete any level of degree here.
Mm-hmm.
So I had finished my bachelor's degree, and it was either doing OPT at a hotel or at um, the international office. And I went with the international office because I had liked the experience of helping students throughout the same process that I had gone through. So helping them, especially students from the Caribbean who may think that might want to go to study but may not know how to navigate that process. Being someone that went through it myself, I I decided that I wanted to continue doing that. And then opportunities opened up where when that year was finishing, a counselor left and a position opened up, which I applied for, and I got. So I ended up traveling a lot, for like traveling to all different parts of the world for the college. And really, what really made me fall in love with higher ed was that working with students who had this dream of pursuing their degree, pursuing this path, and needing help to navigate that. When you're becoming a student, you have all these questions, you have all these, it's an investment you're making. You feel alone, you don't want to feel alone in the process, and I wanted to be that bridge for that student. So I ended up staying in that, and I worked with international students, I worked with graduate students, I worked with students that were from the New York area. And then about 5 years ago, I moved into the city and I started working with this school, and they were starting up their online program. And it was really good to be part of something that was a startup, because students really wanted this degree, but they could not move to New York City. And they needed to understand, well, how do I go through this process? How does it work? And just being part of the or being part of this this new program, it really made me enjoy, like, hey, you may not be coming to New York, but we can bring this education to you and do things that they can feel connected to the school. And when graduation day comes around and you see, they were like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, or oh my gosh, thank you so much for helping me. And it just makes it all worth it, just being that first person that helps get them into that door of where their dreams are.
Yeah, I totally get it, totally understand because I've mentored high school students in helping them navigate their way of essays and all that stuff and getting into college. And then when I go on the college tours and I see these very students at the colleges and how they're thriving, I
Yeah.
mean, that is just the feeling that you get as a mentor or as a teacher or as someone who had a hand in really navigating their path in some sort of way.
Yes.
It's really amazing. So I definitely like that. Tell me about your business.
So the business is a new transition. So I have been in business for about uh, I started in 2015, and the focus then was on social media management. It was always a focus on being a mentor to people that might need help reaching this goal. So I always enjoyed social media. I always enjoyed like figuring out how to use it, to leverage it, to reach an audience. So in 2015, I decided to start my business that really focused on helping um, individuals with their goals to target their online audience. And because sometimes they would not have the time or they don't know how to do it, so I would be like, you know what, I'll take that pressure off so you can focus on your business. As During that process, I started to really move into LinkedIn as one of the social media platforms. And as I spent more time with LinkedIn, I started to really love it as a platform. And I realized how powerful it is as a networking site for business, for professionals. So, as much as I was working on other platforms, I was like, but I really love LinkedIn the most. And then one of my friends who runs this nonprofit asked me to do a resume and LinkedIn session for her students, for the cohort of students that were coming out and getting ready for the job market. So I started to, help them with their resume. So I took like these courses and these in LinkedIn as well as resume. So I started to coach them with, this is how your resume should look, this is how your LinkedIn should look. And then within the last couple of years, it started to transition where my business was really just focused on helping people with their LinkedIn and resumes. So I do help, like if somebody comes to me, a student comes to me and say, I'm ready to move, I don't know how to set up my LinkedIn, I don't know how to build my LinkedIn. I will sit with them, go through and teach them, okay, this is the things that you need to do to have it set up. These are the things that must be included. This is how you network on it. Um, and really break down the simple process to take away that anxiety or fear that they might have. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to begin to navigate this platform, or I don't know what to put on my resume. So that's what over the last year, that is what the focus has been on.
Yeah, that is it's definitely needed and it's amazing. And when I look at these things, LinkedIn and Instagram and all this stuff, and I look back from when we were in college in Monroe, we didn't think about all of this. I don't think it was that pop. I
No.
don't even know if LinkedIn was around because we were not told about LinkedIn
Yeah.
for career services or anything like that, much less to talk about networking and how important networking would be and all that kind of stuff. So I always tell those stories like I did not know any of this stuff. So me telling you and teaching you this now, you have a vast advantage from when I was in college.
Exactly. And especially within the last couple of years with the pandemic, it taught us how important being present virtually is,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had friends and I've had other people that have used LinkedIn and then they come back and they were able to really open up borders and open up opportunities on it. I always say to every working professional, it's very important to have a LinkedIn page nowadays because, while we get back to networking in person, which you cannot take away from, it's so important. It's also good to have that to continue the networking after you leave that that physical arena.
Yeah. So let's dive into this topic because I've been thinking about um not just I've been thinking a lot about happiness lately, and the goals and the plans you make for your life, they don't always pan out or go exactly the way you want them to. And for the past couple of weeks, I've been on a journey of not just setting goals and improving on some goals or re-strategizing or whatever, but also focusing on prioritizing myself and prioritizing health, my self-care and all of that stuff. And one thing that has been ringing true to me has been professional happiness. And I've been seeing a lot of posts on LinkedIn that could be directly linked to this topic. I know I've reached out to some people to talk about this on my podcast, and they were like, Molly, I don't really want to talk about it because I'm still working at my company and I don't know if I want to say that I'm not professionally happy
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all of these things. So it's a really deep topic. So I want you to tell me, when you hear the words professional happiness, what comes to mind for you? And if you want to share your journey and tell us if you are right now professionally happy, or you're still on that journey to being to getting to that place of professional happiness.
Good. A good. That's so. For me, when I think of professional happiness, I think I it what comes to mind is, am I happy to wake up and go into the office or log into my work? Do I have that happiness, or is that feeling of dread not there? Because sometimes, like, if there's a feeling of dread, like, oh my God, I had to go into this place, to me that's not professional happiness, right? So
Mm-hmm.
part is like, if I'm working for somebody, or if am I when I wake up in the morning, yes, I may be tired, yes, I might think, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things to do, but is that general feeling of dread there? If it's there, then I know I'm not happy where I am professionally. um, but if there's that feeling of, okay, there's a lot to do, but I enjoy going to my work, I enjoy logging into it, I look forward to ticking off those tasks, to me that's professional happiness. It has a lot to do with the people that I work with, not just the job that I do and the company that I work for. um, that, to me, that is professional happiness. And I right now, I've been in places, I've worked at places where I had that feeling of dread, where I felt like, okay, I want to cry, like. And just to share a little story, and it's too much, like one time I was so, like, I guess, frustrated and tired and stressed over not even the job but just the environment, that I went and got myself a tattoo, to with a phrase that, one, it helped the stress that day, but it was a reminder that you cannot stay here.
Ah.
Yeah, that was. And so
What did the tattoo say?
it's that phrase, she believed she could, so she did it.
Oh.
To step out. I thought I had to remain there, and that being in a place, anybody that works, they're miserable, right? Because this is how all workplaces function. And that really set me on that journey to figuring out, well, what did you want for your life professionally? What kind of, life you wanted to create, where you're enjoying every day, yes, there are days that'll be stressful. Yes, there are days that you'll have to deal with certain obstacles, but what kind of situation do you want to be in where you can grow, you can thrive, you can learn from, that you have a good rapport, that you feel respected? That was the type. And I was like, maybe if this environment does not exist, do I have to create that environment for myself in terms of running a business? And I, I would have to say, like, so when I moved into this new company, this new college that I'm at, I really started to understand that phrase. It was where for the first time I was working at a place where the president of the company would recognize that, hey, I really value the addition that you're making here, and not just in words, like in that within 4.5 years I was promoted twice without even realizing I was up for it, or even asking for it or applying for it. They recognized that the work that you would put in, and then they would say, we value you, so we want to give you this promotion, we want to give you this pay increase. And if there's something that I'm unhappy about, I feel safe that I can say, I'm not sure if this is working, this is the support. And to me, that's why I feel like I can say, yes, I'm professionally happy. I'm at a place where I'm professionally happy. I feel when I work hard, it is recognized. I am given that respect. Um, I do enjoy waking up in the morning. I do have the support that if there's an initiative I have to take on and I ask for it, the support is there to help me reach that goal. And I think that's something important. And what that teaches me, that if ever I were to go into a business for myself, that's how I would want my employees to feel.
Yeah, I'm so important that I'm so glad that you said that, because it's not just about the job, it's also about the people that you're around, and it's about the company as well, because the job can suck, and if you're in a company that hears you out and knows your grievances, they can make corrections to that so that you're in a better environment and you feel better. But if the job suck and the company suck and the workers suck, then it's totally
Totally.
it's
It's totally hard. And then you find, it's hard. And believe it or not, our professional happiness affects our being, our personal happiness. You can't be miserable at work and then you come home and be like, okay, I'm happy now. You take that. So if you're stressed out, you're taking that stress with you, because that's where your livelihood is, right? That's where yes, you're making money, but at what cost?
yeah. I'm
And
glad you said that, because that factors into another question I was gonna ask, because I shared my story on the first episode on this topic, and I was saying that because I was so professionally unhappy, I started getting physically sick. So my question was gonna be, does your professional happiness, it seeps over into your personal? How does that affect your personal going forward if you're professionally unhappy?
to me, it was, well, for me, it always had me searching desperately, I would say, for a way out. That also probably led me to make certain bad business decisions. Well, I won't say bad business decisions, because you learn a lesson from them, some expensive ones, I would say. um, but I do feel like it it could be twofold, right? Because it could be, I've seen instances where when you stay in a place where you're not professionally happy, you're stressed and tired when you get home. If you have kids, or if you have a partner, you're taking that out unconsciously on them, because you took in all that toxic or that bad energy during the day where you were not happy. You cannot just switch off, especially if you're not consciously working. Unless you're not consciously saying, okay, at 5 p.m. or at 6 p.m., I'm going to learn how to lock off my brain and leave work in work, which is something that, believe it or not, is something we have to train ourselves to.
That's very hard to do.
It's very hard to do. it trickles into our lives. It trickles into how many of us, probably growing up, our parents had a hard day at work, and when they come home miserable, we dealt with it, right?
We got a spanking for every little thing.
Exactly. And half the time, it wasn't us who made them angry. It was some stress that they had at work, and we got to deal with it. So I do feel like it trickles out a lot, and that's why I always think, if something is mentally draining you, if your job is mentally draining you, if your situation is really making you unhappy, and it's a difference between being unhappy and just stressed out, um on a every because there, as I mentioned, there are, just wanted to reiterate that there are stresses and or there are obstacles, but if you're genuinely everyday unhappy, there is there are, like, it is going to affect you. I remember I was always cranky. I was very sensitive. I would yeah, cranky. I was sensitive. I probably, like, I had to seek like a lot of mental, and that's where I had started to go into seeking like mental health and counseling, to really, delve into those things and find a way out, because it was starting to affect my well-being. When I was out with friends, all I was talking about was how miserable I am at work. So even outside, I couldn't get away from it. I was just using that to talk about how miserable I was.
Yeah. And then you're becoming that nagging friend that is that, what did they call it? The buzzkill.
Yeah,
Anytime we go out to have fun, oh, here comes Krystle with her dung wet energy.
exactly. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy. So I do feel like, in addition to, like, when we're starting to think, and I think a lot now, our older millennials, as they like to call us now, as we're seeking jobs, I think a lot of us are starting. It's not just about well, what are you paying me? What are my hours? What is expected of me outside of work? What is the vacation plan? What are all these other benefits that make sure that when I'm there, it's not going to impact my mental health?
Yeah. I'm so glad that you say that because like I keep going back before is that we were not taught all of this when we were looking for jobs because when I came out of college, I was just looking for a job because I had student loans and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
I needed to pay my student loans. So, how important is it now for job seekers, whether you're coming out of college or you're transitioning or you're pivoting into a new career? How important it is for them to get as much information as they can on the role and not just the job role, but also on the company and who they will be working with. Because I say to people all the time, make sure you do your informational interviews and make sure you know that the company is not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them as well. So talk
exactly.
talk about how important is that to do that.
I think that's very important. I like what you say about making sure that you also do interview the company. Is this a company that you see yourself at? Because there's a role to fill, and there's a reason why it's empty. Find that out. I think it's important. One of the things that I do sometimes when recruiters like reach out, um, I always go in on either Glassdoor or salaries.com, and I or Google, and I compare both companies. I compare my rating against I compare the rating of the company, and I compare the rating of the current company I'm at. And you look at those pros and cons. You look to see what they say. Does that fit in with what you're looking at? Do your research on the company. As you said, I feel like those glass doors, it's great, because sometimes companies do pay, or not pay, but will ask the employees to go in. They're not supposed to, but
Mhm.
I've seen instances where it's done. But go and read the cons list, because those are the real feedback, or read the neutral responses and see what people are saying, and take that to heart, and see, is this something that I can deal with? And then if you're on LinkedIn, see who's working at the company. start to engage with them. Especially if you're applying for a particular role, you just wanted some feedback on the company. Sometimes people, may they not all of them would probably be open and honest, but they would share. You don't even have to ask them what does it how is it working for the company. Do you know anything about this role? Can you tell me how is it, like, what do you do? And you make your decision from there. I remember someone was applying to where I work at, and she was asking, and I said, it's a great opportunity, especially knowing where you're coming from. Once you do this stuff and you show up, the company is very flexible. You have all this, you have time off that you need. Even if like if it's a busy period and you get stressed out, there's a break. Work-life balance is very, very important here. And so she was able to make a decision from that. And so people are usually willing to help out as well. But do your research as you're seeing. If they're paying you six figures, be like, okay, but is this really $250,000 of work they're expecting me to do for $120,000? Like, ask yourself that, because so it's very, very important to just see how is this going to, how is this going to impact what it is I'm looking for. For me, time off and work-life balance is a big thing. So sometimes companies have come with, okay, we're going to pay you so much more money, but then I'm like, at what cost?
Yeah.
I don't want to be working on the weekends. I like having 2 weeks off for Christmas. I like all my vacation time. So that cost is not cutting it for me. And
Yeah.
you make your decision from there.
Yeah. It definitely goes back to what is valuable to you and what you really want, because I imagine if you're a mom, you might want flexibility.
Yep.
If you are a single person, you might not care so much about flexibility. You might care about money. You might have student loans and all that stuff to pay back for. So the compensation might be something that it's really important to you. Then if you have a family, vacation time, being able to go off and take your kids to school and all of that stuff might be important to you as well. So it's really sitting down and factoring in when you're looking for that job, what's important to me?
Yes.
What
Yes.
are my what are my red flags and what are my deal breakers and what are the things that I absolutely cannot compromise on or cannot do without?
Exactly. That's so key. What are my deal breakers in this role? It's so important. And I think, thinking of also asking about growth opportunities. It is this, you're going to get into this position and then that's the ceiling that you're going to hit. How can you grow in your company? If that's also something that you're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
that's also important to see how people have moved up in an organization will tell you how you will be able to move up as well.
Yes. What would you say to someone who is the company is great. The job they're in is great. It's what they've always wanted to do. The compensation is good as well, but they are experiencing toxicity with their coworkers. What would you advise them to seek employment elsewhere, or would you advise them to stay and deal with it?
Oh, that's a tough one, especially where everything is, in a situation like that, because you have the good compensation, you are in the field that you enjoy, you are with a company that you like. If the toxicity is your co-workers, in a situation like that, I would say, you know what, before jumping ship, um find out a little bit more about, well, is it one coworker that's creating the toxicity? Is it that this is just happens to be the culture in that? And then, I always, and this is keen on having a good HR team, speak with your manager and HR, and explain explain how you feel, and hopefully if they can support that and address it. But if nothing changes and it starts to impact your mental health, then that's where I would say it is important to look elsewhere, because you can't think, well, I can't have it all. There's places that you can have it all, that have the job and the compensation. But instead of just jumping ship, I would say, try to figure out, one, if where exactly it's stemming from, and then talk to your manager about it, in a very, confidential setting. Hopefully they're not toxic too. And then hopefully you have a good HR system, department that you can talk to in a safe space. And then if nothing changes, and if it's impacting your mental health, that's where I would say, yeah, maybe it's not healthy to stay in there, because as you mentioned, how we talked about before, eventually that starts to affect you, and then the toxicity affects you as well.
Yeah, I think that's definitely great advice. Do not be hasty to jump ship, but kind of really see if you can work it out, or even if it's one coworker, maybe you can sit down and talk to them and really get to the bottom of it, or like you said, talk to the HR. But we're winding down to the time. I mean, 30 minutes fly by so
So
far, so it's amazing. But I want you to give any tips to job seekers out there that are looking for jobs now, or people that are even in their jobs now and are navigating their way to get to that point of professional happiness. What would you say to them? Some things that they should look for, and also some things that they should do within themselves to achieve that goal of professional happiness.
okay, well, so firstly, for the job seekers, I would say, sometimes it could get a little overwhelming. You're thinking, I'm getting all these rejection letters, I should just take anything. No, you still hold your ground, continue interviewing, continue networking. And as you put yourself out there, you know, always ask for feedback, do mock interviews, keep putting yourself out there, and just know that you will be matched with the job that is for you. You will fill the role that is for you. So if you're in a position right now and you're like losing a little hope, it's just that the right job hasn't come through yet. Keep networking, keep tweaking your resumes, keep asking for feedback, and don't give up hope. The right one will come through. Okay, for those who are in a position right now and they're looking for that professional happiness, what I think, sometimes I think what also might lead to us feeling overwhelmed or like really down at work is that we are taking on too much and we feel like we're not accomplishing anything for the day, because we log in and we try to do this, but then somebody needs this, somebody needs this, somebody needs this. Hey, I need you to jump on this meeting. And then before you know it, your day is done and you'll be like, but I didn't get through what I had to get through. And that can leave you feeling like, oh my gosh, it's so stressful and it's overwhelming. A mentor said this to me, and I also say it to new employees that come in that are working under me: make a to-do list every single day. And it does not have to be an extensive to-do list. Okay, put in the things that absolutely must be done today, you get that in. Then you can put in things that you can get started on, you put that afterwards. And then it doesn't have to be extensive. It has, I would say, try to put in 5 or 6 things on that list, and you work through that list. And then when you work through that list every day, you feel like, okay, at the end of today, I did stuff. I had this accomplished. If somebody calls you to do work on a project or to do a meeting that had to be done that day, you add that onto your to-do list and tick it off, because it shows you that you have accomplished stuff, and it leaves you feeling less overwhelmed. Sometimes we want to put everything down for the day we come in, and then nothing gets done and you feel, oh my gosh, this is just too much. So write that to-do list of things that must get done this day, and then things that you can get started on, and tick that off as you go. And then every day when I wake up, even if you're in a, I remember when I was in that that place that I wasn't yet happy. And I started to change my mindset, switch my mindset. I started to wake up and say, you know what, I'm grateful for this job. I'm grateful because I get to go to work. I get to make this money that helps me take care of myself and helps me take care of my family or pay my bills. Sometimes when we come from a place of gratitude, not sometimes, every single time we come from a place of gratitude for no matter what it is that we have, more things come our way. So it switches our mindset. And then even if the stressful things come on, you know that, you know what, I'm grateful to have this job. I'm grateful that, you know what, this paycheck is coming to pay this stuff. And then when you practice gratitude, other opportunities are going to come that moves you into better positions. So I say always practice that mentality of gratitude for having it. Like, okay, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna go in and I have a job to go into. And that it's a simple switch, but it does switch our mindset a lot. So those are like my advice on it. And you know what, never stop learning. Never stop thinking that you've reached the peak in your life where this is where you are at and there's nothing else. Is there something that interests you outside of work? Whether it's, for me, I love to write. I love to write. So guess I used to start taking these writing classes. So it gave me something outside of work to focus on. That was so this was my other way that I was getting to do something that made me feel happy, and it was a release. So even if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, something that brings you joy, start putting that into practice where you're doing it for you. So whether it's a certificate or whether it's just some course or something that might be of interest to you, you want to do that.
This is some awesome tips. I was writing them down. And the one that stuck with me is when you said make a to-do list. I never go a day without making a to-do list. I love a to-do list. If you go on my job, there's a notebook on my desk. Every day there's a to-do list.
I love
Even
it.
even in my personal life, I gotta put a to-do list because sometimes you forget stuff, right? So, and it helps you to organize your day so well. So
Yeah.
I really love that. And the last thing that you said about changing your mindset and coming from a place of gratitude, I think that is so important, right? Because sometimes we forget that someone is probably worse off than we are or in a worse position, and we need to thank God for where we are at
Yes.
now. And so I think that is so important, that coming from a place of gratitude. And I like the last one that you said, never stop learning. And I know sometimes it can be difficult. I've been pondering about, should I go do a PhD? I'm like, I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to sit in front of classroom and do all of these things anymore. But there's so many different outlets. There's
Yeah.
Coursera and stuff that you can do certifications,
Yes.
or if you just go to a workshop and just wanted to listen, and it becomes a networking opportunity as
Yes.
well. I think that is so important. So these are so great. So this was great. It was too short, but it was great.
Well, it really was great, and I'm happy. I was very happy to be on it, and I'm just happy to share. And everything that I've shared is what I've done in my own journey, from being completely miserable to finding a place where I'm happy and enjoying where I am now professionally, and focusing on what the next step is. So I hope that this helps someone else in their own journey too. Because it is possible. We just have to be open to it and do whatever the work is that is required of us as well.
Definitely. And that is what this topic is all about. That is what these episodes are all about. I am hoping that the persons that listen to them would listen to our experiences, learn from what the information and knowledge that we're offering, and really have faith and hold their ground and know that they can achieve professional happiness. They can still be on that track to achieving their goals, and to just not to give up. And these are some really great tips that you've given, and I am excited and happy for our listeners who's going to be listening to this episode. I want to say thank you so much, Krystle, for coming through. I know that you are busy woman. I've seen you on LinkedIn and stuff, so I know you're busy and you're doing all of these great, amazing things. And I'm just happy that I get to see you on screen. If even it's not in person, it's on screen. We haven't seen each other for what, like 18 years or whatever. I
Oh,
don't.
ever long.
I don't want to tell our age or
Yeah,
whatever, but we haven't seen each
yeah,
other in a while. So I'm so glad that we've come back together to do something like this, and hopefully we get to do it again.
yes. Anytime, and I hope to make it out to one of your actual in-person networking events soon too. So I and see you in person. But thank you so much for having me on here. Kudos to you for the work that you're doing as well. You know, bridging gaps, like really sharing your, bringing people together. You know, just I've seen how you've just stepped up after all these things and just creating like these networks and these chapters and this business. And I think it's very, very admirable, Molly. So I was very grateful that you asked me to be part of this episode. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, girl. It's hard work, it's not easy, but giving back is important, I think, especially coming from an international student background and all of that. I think that's and from the Caribbean, I think that's instilled in us so much that we want to give back and we want to
Yeah.
help. So I'm grateful that we're on this path, and leaving an impact, leaving a legacy is very important. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. And this has been another episode of the Network Our podcast. I hope you truly enjoy this episode with my friend Krystle Dookoo. And we would be back again with another episode, another guest. And until then, live, laugh, love, and share this episode. Thank you so much. Bye.